Welcome to another episode of Outstupid. I'm your host, Kelly Petronis, joined today by Owen Hunt.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Owen.
Thanks.
And Lanny Farmer.
Hello.
Aren't we charismatic?
Glad to have you. Yeah, somehow the charisma is lost with the Skype, and yet the whole point of doing it so we could see our beautiful faces.
I've been in quarantine for, or whatever. It's not quarantine, I know, but self-isolating for 6 weeks now. So I don't think that's going to make the show any better. I put on some glasses to sort of mask my face more and to make me look smarter so that hopefully my ideas come off more stupid.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, that you looked primed for the show.
Seems counterproductive to look smarter.
Well, that's how I'm going to beat you, Lanny.
Well, we'll see.
I flat my bill out.
I've been preparing all day for this.
All afternoon. Yep. 15 minutes, and then I paced around. And
yeah, pretty much. That was a strategy.
Were you like throwing darts at my face,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. No, I'm excited. It's good to see you, dude.
You too. It's been a while.
It sure has.
Cool. So I'm just going to adjust Owen all of a sudden just became like enormous on the screen here, which nobody needs that. Nobody wants it.
I agree.
All right, so we're going to get going the way that you guys played before is we're going to pitch some very stupid ideas that each of us have written down for the show, and then we're going to collaborate and try to make them even stupider. And we're in good company. So we started off with a warm-up where I used a word generator to generate two random words and create a movie title that we wrote a synopsis for. And we're going to share that synopsis. Who has the outstupidest idea, right? Somehow outside of being so bad, might be good. So the title and the words are average declaration. Would anyone like to begin with sharing their synopsis?
Sure, I'll go.
Cool.
Average declaration, heartwarming of Donald Trump's third bankruptcy. But then it flashes forward and becomes tremendous as we go 30 years into the future to Trump signing a bill to keep his own golf courses open during the apocalypse. Average declaration.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, a lot of people don't know this, but the founding fathers wrote a second declaration of average importance. They put a map on the back, and then a man in present time that may or may not be played by Nicolas Cage learns of this map, and he assembles a team to steal this average declaration. There's also a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence, but due to high security, they decided to steal the average one easier. After many obstacles and adventures along the way, they find the treasure chest, and it's empty. And that's when they realize that the real treasure are the friends they made along the way.
Of course.
Oh, that is
beautiful.
Average declaration. Thank you.
That's very heartwarming. Okay, cool. So my average declaration. A meek and lonely and chalky Preston Filbert approaches Molly Gilbert, the love of his life, at lunchtime. It has taken him weeks to work up courage to get here, and The room seems silent as he stands up on the lunch table, looks down at her. Instead of confessing his love for her, he makes an average declaration, something like she's a nice person. But this causes all the onlookers to think he has in fact rejected in advance by Molly, the hottest girl in school. This causes Molly to turn into the outcast and spiral into depression, while Preston becomes the big man on campus, a title he maintains the rest of his life by making understated declaration in a theatrical fashion.
Beautiful.
Wow. We really need to start doing comedy.
It would be nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly, we've all lost our minds.
Feeling a bit rusty.
Yeah.
No, I loved it, Kelly. That was great. Very a lot more intricate than I expected.
Yeah, it's a thinker. It's a slow burn.
Yeah. I'll be thinking about that later when I'm like eating little pieces of ham out of my fridge.
As you do while you're quarantining or self-isolating.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back through and just a brief recap of what each of our ideas was. A briefer recap, I suppose. Yeah. Owen, would you like to remind us what your Trump idea?
Yes. Average declaration. It's a heartwarming story of Donald Trump's third bankruptcy, but then it flashes forward all of a sudden and becomes tremendous as we go 30 years into the future to Trump signing a bill to keep his own golf courses open during the apocalypse.
Nice. Cool. Lanny, would you like to give us a brief recap?
Sure. So basically the founding fathers wrote a second declaration that was of average importance. There's a map on the back. A man that may or may not be Nicolas Cage decides to follow the map. There's adventure along the way, and then when they find the treasure chest, it's empty, and they realize the real treasure is the friends they made along the way.
Oh,
beautiful!
That's beautiful.
Rated R for nudity.
They're very intimate friends.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to come out and say it, but yes, there's a lot of penetration in the movie, but sure.
Very average penetration.
Very average, yes.
Cool. Mine is about a meek boy named Preston Filbert who approaches Molly Gilbert, and instead of confessing his love after kind of creating a whole scene, he's just like, "Yeah, you're all right, Molly," and this works for him, and everyone's like, "Whoa, that was so badass!" And then he kind of repeats the recipe for the rest of his life. Just building something up and then understatement, making an average declaration. So I will note that if anybody is currently listening and or watching would like to weigh in on what they think is the best idea, now is the time to do it. But ultimately, we are the judges, and now it's time to deliberate. What do we think? What's the stupidest, or maybe the outstupidest idea that we've got on the table so far?
I like Lanny's the best. I mean, it's kind of a little bit riffing on National Treasure a little bit, but that's kind of
never heard of that movie. So I don't understand.
But I really like the silliness, the Constitution they wrote that was basic. That's funny.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was kind of what the two words demanded in a way, and I think he did it justice.
Thank you. I like both of y'all's. I kind of I would lean more towards Owen, like the the bankruptcy is very topical. I guess that's what drew me into that.
Indeed.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay. You can't. I can't win them all. But you can.
You were just warming up.
Christine can.
Yeah. Apparently. We'll see. Cool. So Lanny, congratulations. You won the first round, which entitles you to begin the next round. And the way it works is we're gonna have a minute to pitch your idea. If we have to ask any kind of clarifying questions, that's the time to do so. Otherwise, we're gonna have 6 minutes to elaborate and make the idea even stupider. And I'm missing my bell. So at the 6 minute mark, I will squeak the rubber chicken, and that's kaput. I'll give a 1 minute warning, and otherwise, let's do it. Lanny, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah. So this movie is called The Bunisher. It's about a bunny in the woods, and he's with his wife and kids. When all of a sudden they are met with heavy fire. The bunny looks, but can only see the shooter was wearing an orange hat. His wife and kids have been murdered. He swears to get revenge and starts murdering every hunter he can get his hands on. I don't know. I just like the image of a cute bunny brutally murdering people. I don't know why that. Anyway, other animals see what he does, and they begin to hire him to take out the hunters that have killed their families as well. Finally, after months of being the Bunisher, he finds the hunter with the orange hat. He attacks and brutally injures the hunter. The hunter then admits that it wasn't him who shot his family, it was his young son of 10 years old. So now the hunter's son runs up to his dad, and the Bunisher realizes that in order to avenge his family, he must become the thing he swore to destroy. And then he kills them both.
Well, all right. Heavy. All right. You ready?
I guess so.
All right, let's jump on in here.
The opening credits. Everything is orange, and then it starts to fade out. And just as you almost see this dude's face, he turns his head, and you see the back of his orange hat walking out into the woods with a big rifle on his shoulder. Big time.
Mm-hmm. And the bunny.
Kelly, apparently, you may have a bit of an echo on your voice on the on the live stream. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, yeah, that's what I was. I was distracted as well. I think hopefully I've addressed it.
Okay, cool.
But if not, well, we're just gonna have to live with it, I guess. Cool. So, yeah. Sorry.
Also, my friend also says Lanny Farmer. He's so cute.
Oh, thank you. I don't know who your friend is, but tell him I said thank you.
Tell him so.
All right. Let's rewind. So, Owen, could give us that opening image, and we'll kind of jump back in.
So the movie opens up, and it's just the screen is just completely bright orange, and it starts to sort of fade out. And just as you're about to see this hunter's face, he turns his head just at the last second, and you don't catch a glimpse of him, but you see his orange hat, and he barrels off into the woods with a rifle on his shoulder, and he's got a mess of bunnies on his hip, bunny hides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This hunter, he absolutely loves rabbit, right? He eats rabbit stew for breakfast, and for lunch, and for dinner. He's raised, he has kids like rabbits do. He's got 13, 14, 15 kids. He's making out just fine on this current stimulus check. He's getting $500 for each of those babies, right? And that means he needs to kill a lot of rabbits because they have expensive tastes. Is it worthwhile? Is it economical? It doesn't. He's a hunter, right? that's what hunters do. He has no remorse whatsoever, but he's also he's living his life, right? He's doing what hunters do. Meanwhile, the rabbit is presumably doing what rabbits do, except for in this case, the rabbit, of course, has become the hunter. And the means by which, did you specify the means by which? The means by which he murders all these the people is it's just it. They almost couldn't even show it in the theaters.
Yeah, that's what, I want it to be like brutal. Like just you're like, how could a bunny do such a thing? You know, I almost feel like it would need to be animated, like an animated film, because you can't really train a bunny to murder.
I mean, you can I mean,
like
the pivotal scene in the movie is when the bunny finds Uncle Remus hunting and rips his face completely off and just tears him completely to shreds. Starts eating. Once he gets a taste for blood, this bunny, what is his name again? The Bunisher, right?
The Bunisher, yes.
The Bunisher, he just can't stop himself.
Right.
Everything that's wrong, every stupid trope, everything, that just didn't make sense in an animatic sense in the past 25 years is completely eaten alive on screen,
right?
In hunting clothes. Even Mickey Mouse as the one with the Fantasia guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so gruesome. Like he tears off Uncle Remus's face, right? And then he actually like crawls inside of his head and like he scratches out the brains and scrambles them, and he like pokes his paws out of the eye holes, and he's like just bathing in the gore.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to like take the blood of like his first victim and do like paints like a emblem on his chest, like a hero. He's like, oh, I don't know what it would be, but
well, it's like he goes, like it's a bee. He just it's like a sideways. He like grabs and plays with their intestines, like throws it up and starts juggling it and kicking it like a soccer ball, and then squeezes it on his ear, and then zips, and then he has all this blood on his hands, and he just goes, "Oh, what am I gonna do with all this blood on my hands? Oh no!" And he goes like that, and then he just pew right out of the frame, and then Punisher,
Yeah, but for his crimes against humanity, I mean, he is held accountable, right? And he's taken to court, and there's a big long trial, but eventually the Punisher is to be shot by a death squad, by a shooting squad, and there's all of his followers come out of the woods. The foxes, the bunnies, the deer, and they're like protesting, they're sobbing. This is their hero that's about to be put down. But thankfully one of the shooters, he takes pity upon the Punisher. And he gives him a carrot right before blowing his brains out.
The carrot.
1 minute warning.
Okay. So the Punisher, he doesn't know what to do with the carrot.
We're basically saying there's no sequel to this. Like I was thinking of a whole series of movies, like John Wick, but the Punisher. But that's fine. We can kill him. That's fine.
It's such a good title. It's hard.
He has illegitimate children.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we could have in the movie somewhere along the way he finds another bunny, like there'll be like a prostitute bunny or something, I don't know, and like he knocks her up, and then she gives like that'll be like the after credit scene is like she's like I'm pregnant, and then the story continues because rabbits they have like tons of babies.
They do.
So they could be like a whole army of Punishers by the end of it. Thank you.
Indeed. All right, that was Lanny Farmer. who's next up in this rotation? Am I?
I don't know.
I think so. Since you had kind of started, Owen, I guess I can go next if that's okay.
Fine.
All right. So, all right. The title is Lost and Found Guilty. A man goes around finding items that people have lost and holding these people accountable for their unforgivable oversights. All right, for what are mere objects to the owners, like sunglasses, cell phones, winter jackets, or the very fabric of life for the main character, Jacko Durango.
Durango.
Self-appointed, self-appointed object detective, judge, jury, and sometimes executioner. So essentially this guy goes around and he finds the objects that people lost, then finds the people, and he's like, what the fuck is this? You know, how could you possibly lose this? You know, that is so irresponsible.
I love it. I think it's great.
All right. You guys ready to jump in?
Yep.
All right. Beginning the timer.
All right. So we see the first scene of the movie, and it's him coming up to this lady, and he's hanging out with a young man, boy, 8 or 9 years old. And he goes up to the lady and he goes, How could you lose this young man? And then the lady says, I don't have kids.
And he says, yeah, you thought you'd get away that easy. And he handcuffs her. And he takes her in because he's vigilante, right? There's nobody above the law except for Jacko Durango because he said so. And he also has an incredible knack for finding these things. Sometimes the people actually try to deny that they don't even own these objects, that they weren't even missing the objects. Like this crazy lady who says, that's not my son. Meanwhile, some other lady is claiming that she's lost her son. And they're all just crazy. You know, Jacko Durango can acknowledge this, can see that these people have lost their mind. And he seems to be the only sane person left in the world.
What if he has, like, dementia? Like, he's the one that he finds the objects, but he just can't remember who they belong to.
Yeah, it's
sort of mixes them all up.
Yeah, it's kind of like Memento,
right?
But he has dementia instead of
demento. I don't know.
Demento. Yeah, and he starts shape shifting too at some point in the movie. As soon as you find out that he has dementia, he turns into Joe Biden, and then he starts to change into Richard Gere and finds himself in a doctor's office. And then all of a sudden he quantum leaps, to his next thing, which is a gold Rolex that he's holding in front of the Queen of England. And he says, how could you? And that's when he wakes up.
It's a lot of, it's like we went from realistic to sci-fi.
We did.
It's all over the place.
We did. It's a psychological thriller.
Right. Yeah. And you don't know what's real and what's not real. Like, it's like, in the Joker, it's like, is he just making this stuff up? Or is this really happening? And it's for the person watching it to determine what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And at a certain point, he, of course, doing these crazy things like kidnapping somebody and bringing that child to another woman, claiming it's her child, and then handcuffing the woman for being so negligent. Inevitably, he runs across law enforcement, right? And and this is where it becomes unclear, because to Jacko Durango, he thinks that they're enlisting his help. But in reality, they're like, listen, you need to stay away from all these people. You're mentally ill. They put him in a home, but he thinks that he's just been assigned this like mental hospital, and that's like his specific like beat. And so he goes around and he has to try to help all these mentally ill people find things that they're looking for, which a lot of the things they're looking for are, just totally gone or were never even existed. They're like looking for their dead husband. He digs up their dead husband's remains, or they're looking for, they forgot what their name was, and so he has to go and try to find like a name for them,
Yeah, he's and then at that point he starts narrating via his own perspective, his search for all of these things, making it even more, in Jacko Durango's, point of view. And we get to watch him try to solve these crimes inside of this nursing home. And he just gets deeper and deeper into his own imagination.
What if there's like, because he's like searching for clues, there's like an animated animal, like a sidekick that like helps him find the clues, and it's
the Punisher.
No, well, we could combine them. I was thinking more of like a blue dog.
Okay, I like a blue dog.
We could like, oh, that's Blue's Clues.
Blue's
Clues. Sorry. But, like he imagines like a little sidekick pet that's not really there.
30-second warning. Yeah. So he's got this sidekick. Maybe it's like a mouse that lives in his pocket that he kind of like converses with day to day. But at a certain point, he realizes that he's been locked into his room, and now he's trying to help himself because he knew that he had a key, but he can't find it, and now he's punishing himself for his recklessness and how could he possibly, and he has to live with this for the rest of his days. So that was Lost and Found Guilty. All right. Let's see. Owen, would you like to... Oh, sorry, Owen. I was told that whole pitch had no sound.
Oh, really?
So if you could do a briefer pitch of that.
Yeah, let's see. Sure. So the name of the movie is Dude, Where's My Lobotomy? And the story is that Ashton Kutcher and Stifler, not the actor that plays Stifler, but Stifler, the character, go on a journey, a romp up to New York, because Ashton Kutcher needs a new heart and Stifler needs a new lobotomy, and they can't seem to find. They can't find it, so they hire Marina Abramovich to cast a spell, so the spirit cooking lady, so that they can find a heart and get Ash or get Stifler a lobotomy. There.
Nice. Cool. All right. So, Dude, Where's My Lobotomy? They're on, Stifler needs a lobotomy because his brain is actually, it's too big. And Kutcher needs a heart because he doesn't actually, somehow he doesn't have one. It's maybe all the punking. I don't know.
Jimmy Moore took it.
Yeah.
She has it in a nice jar in her cabinet,
right next to Bruce Willis's.
Yeah. And so of course there's the trip is rife with hijinks and with a lot of life lessons that are tied up. It's essentially Wizard of Oz. Is that the Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz sort of meets Dumb and Dumber, because they're driving that mutt truck, the van with the dog hair on it, and they're peeing in bottles, and they get pulled over by that guy who's like, he does that thing, and he's like, giving up booze, you pumpkin pie haircutted freak. He even says that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they get through DC and they go see some museums. And then they go to Baltimore and get lost on the way, trying to get to New York City as quick as they can, but they keep getting, deflected. Different things keep happening. The car got stolen in Boston, and they also didn't drive the right way to New York City. They drove to Scranton, Pennsylvania, accidentally, and then they had to drive over to Boston and then down into Philly and then over to New York.
Yeah, and the whole time it's the stakes are actually immense, because if Kutcher doesn't get his heart, like he's just gonna die. Like he Stifler has to like pick him up and kind of like shake him around just to get the circulation going, because there's nothing that's pumping his blood outward. Meanwhile, Kutcher has to occasionally get like a pair of chopsticks and go up Stifler's nose and like pick out little pieces of brain to like do a kind of impromptu piecemeal lobotomy, just so that his brain doesn't crack open. And but while they're in Scranton, they really, shit hits the fan, and their Kutcher is about to he's his vision's fading. His blood is like all down at his feet after he urinated in a bottle, and he's just like, oh man, I'm not feeling so good. And Stifler's driving and then realizes that it's like his head is starting to crack open, and then they get into a car accident, and they hit a school bus of children. and then the children come out, and they realize that these guys are like famous, and of course they want their autographs and all of that, but they have to explain to these children that they're dying and they have to get to New York to get a heart and a brain, and so they have to hijack the bus because their car is toast, and they bring the kids with them. They just throw the bus driver out, and now they're on their way to New York with a bus full of children, cracked head. Stifler's, there's kids that are like shaking Ashton Kutcher to like keep him conscious, keep the blood circulating. One kid's a heroin user. He's like trying to offer some blood directly to Kutcher. It's a mess.
It is a mess. Oh,
I want to know how Abrima Branovich ties into this. Like, are they like, do they realize, oh, we have all these kids, she can use their blood for like performance art or some creepy shit like that?
I mean, we could go there, you know.
Like she holds the key, like she knows who does the lobotomies. So they're like, oh, if we take her all these kids, she'll tell us, and then she'll spirit cook them or whatever she does. I don't know what she does.
I mean, a heart and a lobotomy are two pretty hard things to come by.
Yeah. So like they like do a deal with her. They trade her the children for the heart and the lobotomy. It's like the black market type deal.
Yeah, it's a really shady. It takes a real, like, the thing is actually a documentary, right? And it takes a real dark turn.
Yeah.
It's 30-second warning, by the way. And once they trade the kids, you've lost like all sympathy for Stifler and Kutcher. You're just like, what? That was egregious. You know, how could you do something like that?
Yeah, they even knew the implications and were complicit in it. But as soon as they walk out of Maria Abramovich's Manhattan giant studio apartment, a piano falls and smashes Stifler on the sidewalk. And then the camera, we bust out into the crowd of a gigantic theater, and they all go nuts.
All right. That was Dude, Where's My Lobotomy? By Owen. Cool. So that ends the first round here, the long form round. We've got a speed round after this. I will note that if any listeners would like to weigh in on what movie pitch they thought was the best or the stupidest or the worst, either one, any one, you know, we're all looking for the same thing, really. It's just the pitch that had the most something, the je ne sais quoi, right? And but in the meantime, let's do a brief recap to see kind of, because see what was added on since the pitch and what was incorporated into the story. Lanny, would you like to start by recapping the Punisher?
Yes. So start out, first scene, it's like an orange hat. It's just all orange. Hunter turns away, don't see who he is. Anyway, so then his bunny is in the woods with his wife and his kids. They're met with heavy fire. The father bunny, he can only see the shooter is wearing an orange hat. His wife and kids have been murdered, and he swears to get revenge. And he starts murdering all these hunters in like brutal ways, ripping their faces off, juggling their intestines, I think. And then he takes their blood and does like a bee on his chest for the Punisher. Yeah, he does the swoop. Other animals see what he does, and they begin to hire him to be like a bounty hunter to kill for their families. He ends up finding the hunter, but then in a turn of events, it was actually the hunter's young son that shot the bunny's family, and the Punisher realizes that in order to avenge his family, he has to become the thing he swore to destroy. But then the law catches up with him, and he goes to court, and all the animals are like protesting and like, free the Punisher. And then they put him in front of a shooting squad, and then like one guy gives him a carrot, and then they kill the Punisher.
Damn, yeah. So that's the Punisher.
that's violent, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. I will give a little recap of Lost and Found Guilty. There's a man who is clearly kind of losing his mind, and ironically, he has a real problem with people that lose random objects. He has like a moral problem with it, and yet he has this incredible gift of finding these lost objects, or so it seems. Like he finds this child who belongs to this woman, but she says, "I've never seen this child in my life," and he handcuffs her to, arrest her and administer vigilante justice, because that's the way that Jacko Durango works. Jacko Durango, turns out, is actually demented and has no real bearing on reality. Eventually, he gets locked up in a home for the mentally ill, and there he takes it upon himself to try to help everyone there find their lost things, whether it be their dead husband or their mind themselves. And eventually, the people who operate the facility are like, Jacko, you just need to go into your own room and stay there. And he lives out the rest of his days trying to figure out how to get out of there and find the key. So that's Lost and Found Guilty. Would you like to give us a recap?
Sure. Mine was Dude, Where's My Lobotomy? Where Ashton Kutcher and not Sean William Scott, but the Stifler character go up to New York City to find a heart for Ashton Kutcher because Demi Moore stole his, and a lobotomy for Stifler for obvious reasons. And they go all the way up and they get lost because they're pretty dumb. And so they eventually crash into a bus full of children, but no one's hurt. And they steal the bus from the bus driver and drive the children to Maria Bravomic's Manhattan apartment, where the children are probably horribly hurt. I don't know. I mean, some say she's a Satanist, but who knows? They trade the kids. She says, "I'm an artist." I'm like, what's the difference? No, I'm kidding. And who knows what she does? We don't see that part. But then they trade to her for a spell so that they could get a lobotomy and a heart. And then they walk outside, and then a piano falls on Stifler. And then it backs out of that frame into a theater, and it's a bunch of people there watching a show, and they start clapping.
It was all performance art.
It was all performance art by Maria Abramovic herself.
Damn. What a twist. That was good.
Cool. So, waiting to hear back on the live streams. There's one vote cast. Certainly not a consensus out there. What do we think? What's the outstupidest idea we've got here?
I kind of like the Stifler and Ashton Kutcher. I like the ending, like how it all is twisted at the end.
Yeah, I really like the Punisher. I gotta say, the idea of a bunny eating Uncle Remus's face in my mind is probably one of the coolest, weirdest things I've ever seen in my head. And then diving inside of him and eating from the inside and just going crazy. That's pretty funny. And kicking intestines and such. That's pretty stupid.
Hey, now
it's also fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's outside of stupid. It's so good. It's so bad. It's good.
I vote for the Punisher.
Appreciate it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think I like the Wizard of Oz tale with Ashton Kutcher and Stifler. I could very much see that one being produced, right? The Punisher. Well, I don't know. The Punisher, in a strange way, I could see it being produced too. For some reason, I feel like the stupidest ideas are the ones that I can see actually getting made. But yeah, I think I'm going to cast my vote with the Punisher. We've got so we've got on Twitch, one vote for the Punisher.
Nice.
On YouTube, we've got one vote for Dude, Where's My Lobotomy? 3 votes for the Punisher. I think I've got to go with the will of the people here and vote for the Punisher as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we're going to have to shoot that one. One of the things we've been talking about, everybody, is...
Sorry. Oh, my cat. Oh, my cat's here. Sorry.
Something about the cat? I'm sorry.
Yeah, my cat just walked across. She's right here.
No. She must be punished.
Yeah.
Punisher.
She's very, she loves hearing all these ideas. She's very into it.
Would she maybe like a part if we were to shoot a live action, maybe like preview of the Punisher?
She wants to be one of the animals in the woods.
It'd be fun. Yeah. We'd love to shoot some trailers for some of these ideas.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
We could just get someone to dress up as a bunny rabbit. So it's, the CGI. Or we could get a puppet, like the puppetry.
I've got one.
Let's go with the let's not go the CGI. I like, the realistic visual effects. Let's go down that route,
Taxidermy, yeah.
Yeah, taxidermy, puppetry.
I've got a rabbit. I mean, the problem is going to be we're going to have to shoot everything properly because once it's covered in blood, it's covered in blood. We're not getting those stains out. So we're going to have to shoot that scene last.
Yeah. Well, we could just film all this stuff because once he starts murdering, he's just going to be covered in blood all the time. So he never washes it off.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a wild animal. They just live that way. It's they don't wash. It's not a thing.
That's fair.
Cool. So you guys ready to hop into the speed round? So we're gonna have 3 minutes to elaborate instead of 6, which means that we've got to get to the stupider ideas faster. Just first thing off the dome, really get your inhibitions and put them in the recycle bin. So Lanny, since you won yet again, you get the honor of beginning the speed round. Do you have an idea you'd like to pitch?
Yes. Is this the last round? Because I have 2 ideas, and I just want to make sure I don't.
It is.
Okay. Okay. I want to go with that. I want to go with this one. This one I want to do. Like I could see like Disney or Pixar doing this.
Nice.
So I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. So this one is called Belinda and the Bee. So there's this girl and she wants to be a florist and she's like super talented and like in her head she can create all these beautiful arrangements, but her problem is she's allergic to flowers, like deathly allergic, and so she could never make the creations that she sees in her head without sneezing, and she sneezes and they all just mess up. So she believes that she will never be able to make her dreams come true until one day she meets a worker bee who has been kicked out of the hive because he wants more out of life. So all he wants to do is use his hands or his whatever they have to create something beautiful and be creative. But he's a worker bee. He's all work, no play. So anyway, they become friends, and the florist teaches the bee how to make the creations she sees in her head. So they open a shop together, and they become renowned around the world. Well, then the bee's family hears of his success, and they want him to come back and not be friends with the florist anymore because she's human, and also the bees are racist. It's a whole thing. And so the florist has entered them into this like world competition for floristry. I don't know the word. It's like a florist competition, and she needs the bee to win. So there's like this whole struggle of how she. But anyway, at the last minute, the bee defies his family. He goes to the contest, win.
Okay.
So it's like Ratatouille, but with a bee and a florist.
Wow.
So
cool. I got some notes over here, and
hit me with them.
All right,
we'll get there.
Let's dive in. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's great. I love it. Belinda and the Bee. It's definitely adorable. Super Pixar for sure. can definitely see the animation. And I mean, the bee, it's really funny at first because you see Belinda, she's trying so hard to put a flower arrangement together that she sees it in her head and she sneezes and the flowers they go everywhere. And then she gets deathly sick from being exposed to all the pollen from the flowers. But she's, you know what? She knows she wants to be a florist more than anything. And all she does is watch the florist championships on Netflix. It's kind of like the British baking show, but floral version. And she just watches that nonstop and she loves it so much. She's decided there's got to be a way that she could enter that competition.
Yeah, and the thing, like she doesn't view herself as a florist. She's a flower artist, right? Like this is not just putting flowers together. This is the expression of one's soul. And Belinda and the bee have a bond over this because the bee understands flowers to be the expression of one's soul as well. Its whole livelihood revolves around this understanding. And this is something that, in the same way that the bee's hive, their colony, doesn't really understand why he's helping out this woman, Belinda's people don't really understand her connection with the bee.
Yeah. Nobody understands why Belinda is friends with the bee, and nobody understands why the bee is helping Belinda, because bees have a vast knowledge of flowers over many, many, many generations and understandings about which that we couldn't even comprehend. But the bee begins to enlighten Belinda about what you can do with flowers, which gives her a huge insight into putting these artistic creations together. She becomes a phenom.
I think I like the struggle there with the family. Like the family's like, no, flowers are a business. Like we make honey. This is a thing. Like we're all business here. But the bee, the worker bee, he wants to create art. He's like that college student that's like, his parents are like, get a degree in accounting, be an engineer. And he's like, I like to make art. I like painting. And they're like, we're not sending you to college to paint. And so there's like that internal struggle of being true to yourself.
Yeah. They're like, damn it, Toby. We worked our whole lives. You're the first worker bee to ever make it out of a tech school and into a real university.
Dude, Toby. Dude, that's the perfect name for the bee. Toby. Oh, my God.
All right.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, so dumb.
Belinda and the Bee, pitched by Lanny Farmer. Okay, I think I am next up in rotation on the speed round here. Okay, so I've got the skeleton of the beginnings of something here, and I'm gonna need you guys to help me kind of flesh it out into, some more scenes and kind of where the through line here. So it's called a 6-foot pole. Sheldrisky doesn't want anyone coming near her, at least not within 6 feet. So she cobbles together a 6-foot pole that has a few pens and pencils on the end of it to act as her hand, and she goes through life, this way until she dies. She lives her whole life with this pole. The ones that she loves, she gives them a pat on the back with the pole, with the pencils and the pens, like kind of like scratching her back. Or she goes to work at the bank and she counts out the money and passes it over with the 6-foot pole in the hand. She was heavily involved in civil rights, and you can see her pole kind of like, there's nobody around her, of course, at the marches, but she lives a full life, but she lacks real intimacy.
Yeah, she desires nothing more than to take the hand that she's made out of pencils that's like this and turn it into a fist so she can fight the power when she's at the march.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nobody around there to help her. So she just keeps trying to use her mind to somehow bend the pencil. You know, you used to do that trick where you wiggle the pencil and it looked like it was bending. You know, she's thinking maybe if she could wiggle it, she's trying it, but she just can't seem to get it to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean the reason why she doesn't want anywhere near her is that it's nothing to do with COVID or anything like that. It's just it's her bubble. She's like, don't get in my bubble. I hate that. I hate that so much. You know, she'll see. It's tough when she's on the road too, because if anyone car gets within 6 feet, she veers off the road, and you know this becomes kind of problematic. She becomes a civil rights leader, of course, for women and you know, just people who want their bubble. And she gains a whole following of people that it's the 500 person march, because that's as many people that they could fit on the street, all being 6 feet apart. And they come out in, you know, I wouldn't say in droves, but they come out in sparse numbers, 6 feet sparse enough, and they go out and you know, kind of they make a real statement. What that statement is leave me alone. Don't come near me. Don't come near any of us.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's the statement that they make, and then right as people really start to understand their voice and what they stand for, she meets the man of her dreams, who also has a 6-foot pole, and at the end of the movie, they get pretty close together, and he says, "You know what, baby? I'd totally touch you with a 6-foot pole."
Well, yeah, he gets down on one knee and he grabs her pole and the pencils that are on the end, and he slides a ring onto
Yes.
one of the pencil fingers, and they get married, and they get a king size bed, and each sleep at total opposite ends, and yeah, never within 6 feet of one another.
Never.
And until the day that she dies, and she's buried 6 feet under the ground.
Damn.
Bravo.
So that's a 6-foot pole.
6-foot pole. Man, I got a couple here. I don't know which one to choose from. I guess I'm gonna go with this one. No More Men. So that's spelled NOMORMEN. A Mormon feminist fantasy epic. Aaron and Alma are the two wives of Jedediah. But Jedediah is an asshole, and Aaron and Alma are in love. So they start to get with the other ladies in the, what would you call that? Harem, I guess? I don't know. That's probably not the right word. But the group of people who are married to Jedediah. And they decide that they want to leave, get out of Utah, and go to Busch Gardens in Ohio. That's all I got so far. So we're going to have to flesh it out from there.
Yeah, because Busch Gardens is the mecca for, you know, Mormon women. Little known fact. It's there. In fact, there are no Mormon men there. They don't even know it exists.
What if, since it's like a feminist movie, what if they go to Busch Gardens and they find like a whole clan of like Mormon women that have left, and they start their own religion? I don't know what they would call it.
More women.
More women.
The less men.
Less men. The less men of Latter-day Saints. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're less many. Less lesbians. Lessmans.
Lessmans.
And once they've cut men out of their lives, they realize these incredible gains that they've had. Like, they don't, they don't feel bad for being late to get anywhere. Like, leaving the house. They don't feel bad for talking too much to kind of explain the story that maybe Jebediah didn't ask to hear in the first place, and of course they're overjoyed, but also there's something that's missing, right, in this whole clan of women, of less men.
Yeah, and they just can't put their finger on it. I mean, at first everything's going so well, and they're just so excited to be together and be able to be expressive and full of joy. But at some point, something's just not clicking anymore. They run out of box wine, and they just want to feel something new again. So they go out into Busch Gardens to see if they can find the ever evasive Slender Man in Busch Gardens, who, if you catch him, you find a secret passageway to the underneath the park, where there's rumored to be riches beyond your wildest imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gold diggers. I mean, aren't we all? But like they're literally just gold. They're literally digging for gold in the underground passages of Busch Gardens, and they find it, and they become extremely wealthy and buy Busch Gardens.
Yep, it's like winning the lottery and buying the casino, baby. Boom. That's what they needed. They needed a business to run.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we all need. It's just a business to run.
There just wasn't enough going on. They didn't feel productive, so they wanted to, get into the game.
Yeah, oddly, once there weren't any men involved, they're like, let's just do
too easy.
Let's do the things that men occupy their time with, just creating inane empires of money.
And then they run the business into the ground. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, so so we've got three beautifully stupid ideas out there, and I want the listeners to weigh in, and whether they think Belinda and the Bee, a 6-foot pole, or no more men is the stupidest idea of the speed round. And if you could just make a comment on YouTube or Twitch, and we'll weigh in with the people's will. But in the meantime, let's do a brief recap and see what we've incorporated into these ideas. Lanny, would you like to refresh us?
So there's a florist named Belinda. She wants to be the greatest florist in the world, but she's allergic to flowers. So she could never make the creation she sees in her head. One day she meets a worker bee named Toby, who has been kicked out of the hive because he wants to be creative and he wants to create something beautiful, but his family basically want him to work. Anyway, he becomes friends with the florist, and the florist teaches the bee how to make the creations she sees in her head. They open a shop, they become famous, but then the bee's family hears about it and they want him to come back to the hive. And the florist enters into a competition, a world competition, a florist competition, and she needs the bee to win, but the bee's family, tells him he can't go. But then at the last minute, the bee defies his family, and he goes to the contest, and they win, and they are best friends forever.
Nice, Belinda and Toby.
That's right, Toby the bee.
Belinda and the Bee. Cool. So my pitch was for a 6-foot pole, and it is follows Shelky Sheldrisky, who is she is a woman who doesn't want anybody within 6 feet of her. And the way that she interacts with anyone who's beyond 6 feet or at that perimeter is with a long pole, probably made out of like 2 yardsticks put together with like some pencil fingers at the end for a hand, and she kind of carries that around and interacts with the world that way. But she happens to be, maybe she doesn't just happen to be, she emerges as this civil rights leader for anybody who wants other people to just leave them the fuck alone and stay 6 feet or more away from one another. And she's very successful in this endeavor. Eventually, she meets the man of her dreams, who also has a 6-foot pole, and marries her. They sleep in a king-size bed, always 6 feet apart, never touch. It's really a story of triumph for Shelky and a 6-foot pole.
All right. That's brilliant. I love that. I love that one. The one that I did was No More, NOMOR, Men, a Mormon feminist fantasy epic featuring Aaron and Alma, who are the 2 wives of Jedediah. But Jedediah, he's the worst. And we know this. It's very obvious to get a reading on it. He's toxic masculinity walking. So Aaron and Alma round up the rest of the girls, and they say, you know what? We're going to go to Busch Gardens in Ohio because that's where it's rumored to be the best place to go. So they all go there, and then they find, a group of these other feminists, and they just are having the best time. They drink up all the box wine, but then they feel a little bit empty, and they hear a tale that you can access all the riches to the park. And in the center of the park, if you find the Slender Man, they find the Slender Man, they get the riches. And what they were missing was to run the business. So they buy Busch Gardens, they run the business into the black and infinity.
Cool. Okay, so still waiting on some viewers to weigh in here, but what do we think? What are the merits to these very stupid ideas?
I think that the Belinda and the Bee story, they could actually make that. Like, that's definitely a pretty plausible premise from a Pixar standpoint. And I think it's cute, and of course you've got the Bee and Belinda who sell their families out. I mean, what's more Disney family than that, right? And go together and defy everything and be beyond and transcend, because he's not just a worker bee anymore. He's like a mariposa. He's like a butterfly now. He's beyond a bee, So I think that was a really good story. I also love the 6-foot story and the lady with all the pencil fingers and stuff and how they propose. Adorable. Really, really cute.
I like the 6-foot pole story.
Yeah.
I think it would be because she meets a dude, right?
Oh, yeah.
She meets a dude, and they both have a 6-foot pole.
Oh, of
like,
course.
Wouldn't it be sweet, like, if they cut both of their poles in half, and then they just have one 6-foot pole together?
Wow. See, yeah, you got it.
I just thought of that. Sorry.
Yeah, no. It's not. We haven't made it yet, so it's not too late.
Throwing it out there,
That slow-mo little shot, though, when they're hacking their poles, and then they bring them together, really slowly and closely with the pencil fingers on there, and they sort of clasp together. That's gonna, man. Beautiful. I want to start looking up the music for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Romance.
Mm-hmm. You guys continue deliberating. I'm gonna get my dog here.
Oh, Toad. Yeah, let's see what people in the comments said. Can Belinda be the 6-foot distance woman too? Combo stories. Not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Planet Ketonia says Belinda and the Bee. Oh, Dan. Ooh, Toby's stinger could be the 6-foot pole. Hey-oh! Somebody's got a future in comedy. Yeah, it looks like the B, and we just got another one. Got to go with the B because puns, and then yeah, I mean there could be a double feature. Absolutely, I love that idea. A triple feature even. Ho ho ho! Hey, what does that mean? No doubt. It looks like Lanny is crushing us this game. He's basically winning every round.
I think it's a sweep.
I'm real stupid. Sorry.
You got hat trick.
I think the people have spoken. I'm certainly a sucker for anything with an animal in it, anything fabulous. I'm drawn toward. So I've been trying to kind of like weigh that or counterweigh that in my decisions. But the Belinda and the V is my knee jerk is like, of course, I'm drawn to that. So I'll vote with the will of the people as well on this one. Yeah. Well, what are your? Is it a unanimous?
Yeah, I mean, I think Belinda and the B is the clear winner. I'm certainly not going to vote for myself. And I really do like the 6-foot idea, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go against the people on this one. No way.
Mm-hmm.
The people be damned. 6-foot pole is where I stand.
Yeah, we're ultimately the judges here, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the 6-foot pole idea. I think there's, especially in these times of quarantine, that could be
very topical.
Yeah.
And it would be pretty easy to shoot. All we need is a couple of sprouts of bamboo from my neighbor's house and some number 2s and a pencil sharpener. And I think we're solid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it looks like Belinda and the B wins this round as well. Yet another one goes to Lanny Farmer. Congratulations, Lanny.
Thank you.
So to close out, I always like to ask, like, what do we feel like worked? What do we feel like didn't? What made for a really, I don't want to say a stupid idea, but like outstupid, exo-stupididum, right? Like it's so bad that it's good. It's just like it's so obvious that it's true. Like what do you feel like works?
I feel like the more, I guess, sort of, because like you guys both had really like out of the box kind of ideas, and I like that. I like those the visuals and stuff. The 6-foot pole and the lobotomy stuff. So I think the stranger it is, just the more bizarre is like it sticks with you more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that might be in part to just like, I don't know, maybe we sometimes try too hard, but I think the vulnerability during the pitch when everybody's working together, the collaborative aspect of it is my favorite part.
Yeah.
And it's also the part I think that really lends itself to some really neat discoveries at times. Because sometimes, you'll just be talking and you don't even know what you're going to say next. And then something comes out and you're like Toby, and you're like, I love that, and that you liked it. So that's great. But I didn't know. I mean, I just felt Toby come out of my mouth. And I think yourself in a position where you have to create something, even if it's bad, even if it's stupid, and allow it kind of stupid, I think is there's some power in that,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there's genius in it,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think we can access it that way,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, yeah, I think that's a good note to end on. And as I give you guys an outro, if you have anything that you'd like to plug, please feel free to plug it. Owen Hunt, thank you so much for playing.
Thank you very much. Yep. If you guys get a chance, check out Flying Squid Comedy on all the platforms. We're really social mediaing it up. And I'm also at Bootsy Greenwood across all platforms. Got a couple audiobooks and stuff out and some videos and stuff. So feel free to check that stuff out and hit me up anytime. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
As always, man. Lanny Farmer, thank you so much for playing and kicking our butts.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed being here. I came to play. So also for pitching, I have a website now. Pretty happy with it. LannyFarmer.com.
Oh yeah.
Real
Sweet.
official.
LannyFarmersOnly.com.
Yeah, as soon as I built it, the quarantine happened, and I had to erase all my upcoming shows. So that was super depressing. So, and also be on the lookout for Belinda and the Bee in theaters. I'm gonna write that. I'll write it out.
Send it to Amazon, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Lanny.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm your host, Kelly Petronis. Like Owen was saying, check out FlyingSquidComedy.com or on any social medias. I recently put together the 8th episode of Coffee for Communists, which is thing. It doesn't take that long, but it takes me that long. And the next 2 episodes, the last 2 episodes, the one and only season, are going to be out in about 2 weeks. Not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. So keep an eye out for those. And tune in to Outstupid next time. There's 1 episode already out on the podcast sphere on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And we're going to keep doing these live shows, and we hope that you enjoy them. Please leave your feedback. Be care. Be care. Take safe. Good. Bye good.